I'm telling you, man, healthcare and home ownership, like healthcare and housing prices, are the two key things that everyone gets over by. Every single person. People are very, very, very angry, understandably, about the situation that is unfolding, about their own material realities. You got Republicans talking about eat the rich, man. That's crazy.
Nation's largest health insurers. ABC's Morgan Norwood is here with the latest. Morgan, good morning.
Good morning to you, Whit. Yes, police say the suspect behind that brazen ambush of CEO Brian Thompson earlier this week likely took a bus out of the city, but he left behind a critical piece of evidence, his backpack. And as investigators comb through it for clues, the FBI is joining what's now a nationwide search and offering a $50,000 reward. This morning, the frantic search for the killer behind the assassination-style murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson now turning into a nationwide manhunt. According to sources, investigators believe the suspect escaped New York City, last seen at 6:59 a.m. on Wednesday, riding a bike out of Central Park after the shooting. Police say the suspect hopped into a taxi, headed to a bus station, and made his getaway. Friday, NYPD officers combing Central Park doing a...
I think there's something... I mean, I can't help but love this story because it's like, it's literally everything that I've talked about, like, for years, all of it coming together. You have the understandable resentment and anger that massive swaths of the American population feel towards healthcare and towards executives in general that are involved in healthcare. Like, the resentment that they feel is palpable. That's number one. So the reception of this story has been genuinely different than the way that the media is covering it. That's number one. Number two, police incompetence. Something that I talk about all the time is police incompetence. The very fact that this multiple billion-dollar, one of the largest standing militaries on the planet force, the NYPD, is so woefully incompetent. And it's not necessarily a bad thing in this circumstance, but it is a bad thing when there are real crimes happening and they're tasked with solving them and they fail to solve them. But like, it is so publicly in display that one of the most effective, supposedly, one of the largest, most effective police departments on the planet that have a submarine, okay? Drones, submarines, an office in Tel Aviv. Like, these guys are so woefully incompetent when they're tasked with finding one singular criminal, okay, supposedly criminal, it's a loaded word, that walked up in broad daylight and domed a healthcare CEO and calmly walked away, got on a bike and went into Central Park to lower his 5-star rating down to 0 stars instantly. Central Park is the real life version of spray and pay, okay? That's it. You go in with 5 stars in the Central Park, you come out 0 stars. Okay? Straight up. It's crazy.
As the search intensifies, police working to determine a motive. Police believe the gunman is a disgruntled ex-employee of United Healthcare or an angry client.
Today, value-based care is the centerpiece of our growth strategy. And
now, other corporations.
I think one of the craziest parts about this is that, like, this dude is still like small fry. Okay? He's not even the top dog. Like, the United Healthcare structure, like, there's a United Healthcare group. Okay? This guy is the CEO of one of the many different tentacles under the United Healthcare group. So, like, he's a low-level CEO. He's still not a good guy, okay? His actions are not great, right? His actions were not great. It is interesting to think that, like, there are still, less accessible people that are out there. I heard that some pharmacy techs were saying yesterday no claims were being denied, where it usually is like 30 to 40% getting instantly denied. Yeah, it's a really interesting situation, isn't it? I mean, we saw Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem reverse their decision like overnight to no longer offer coverage to anesthesia over a certain period of time. Like, if you go under with anesthesia for if you go over a predetermined time frame, if you're under if you're taking anesthesia for a longer than a predetermined time frame, like they will not cover it anymore. They said that they weren't going to do that. And then they very quickly reversed that decision. I wonder what happened. And then Kathy Hochul was like Kathy Hochul was basically taking credit for it.
And insurance companies on high alert, reassessing security for their senior executives. And investigators are looking into the possibility that the gunman used what's known as a veterinary gun, typically used on farms and ranches. But now that the suspect may have skipped town, they're really leaning on the public for help. You know, those photos that we've shown are the clearest ones yet, and they are hoping someone out there can recognize him with.
And Morgan, other companies are now taking notice and taking...
He was the CEO of United Healthcare, which is the insurance division that makes up 3/4 of the UHG's revenue. Yeah, a time frame that doctors don't determine either. The insurance would determine it. But that's just how it is in America. That's my point. That's what's so frustrating about it. That is what's so frustrating about this process. And not only that, but also they used AI. United Healthcare started using AI to deny claims, and it skyrocketed the number of denials that they were engaging in. And for the record, even the deny, depose, defend book that everyone is pointing to, like that book itself is not exactly a great book either. Like that's a pro healthcare insurance book, but it's so bad. Healthcare in this country is so bad that they even got capitalists who are pro healthcare insurance that, you know, are criticizing it. Okay. One thing that has been quite interesting is seeing conservatives also exhibiting the same anger that you normally would hear from leftists online, right? Like the reception of this story has been quite interesting. Americans from all different walks of life, from all different kinds of backgrounds, different political ideologies that have all been f***ed over directly by the privatized for-profit healthcare structure in this country, also carry the same resentment that the shooter had. And that's precisely the reason why, while right-wingers and mainstream media, both liberals and conservative alike, are trying to maintain this civility aesthetic to say people are celebrating this, like this is crazy. Normal conservatives, on the other hand, are like, of course people are celebrating this. What are you talking about? Look, people are naturally going to celebrate. This is on r/conservative. This man's death is an allegory for the failure of privatized healthcare as a whole. We can all relate. Prescriptions we can't afford. People we know who have been turned down. Healthcare or treatment due to insurance reasons. I'm a Republican and I'm not going to defend the failure of privatized healthcare. It's an absolute tragedy that people who don't have access to healthcare. I know that sounds like a lib talking point, but this is America. Healthcare should be just as great as the rest of our country. Complicit for over 7 million deaths, 1/3 claim denial rate. UHC being investigated for using algorithms that automatically deny claims. UHC has some of the highest healthcare premiums and costs. All the while, he was the CEO and making over $10 million a year. Also, he was being investigated for fraud, money laundering. This man did not have clean hands. I'm not justifying murder, just stating facts. And in America, healthcare costs are still higher than many countries around the world while providing subpar service compared to said countries. This act of violence, okay, in and of itself, is ripping through the social fabric, right? Because this is vigilante justice, all right? And that's in almost every single circumstance. I wouldn't say unacceptable in every single circumstance, but like that is something that should not exist in a healthy society. But we are not living in a healthy society. And the very fact that people are also celebrating this vigilante justice means that there is like very deep-seated and valid resentment that people feel towards these institutions, understandably. And it's kind of crazy because, like, this is unique for the conservatives. And the reason why it's unique for the conservatives is because conservatives love vigilante justice. Their own version of vigilante justice is oftentimes directed at appropriate targets, those without any power whatsoever. Conservatives have celebrated Kyle Rittenhouse. Conservatives have celebrated that old guy that looks like Santa Claus that killed those climate protesters that were blocking traffic. Conservatives celebrated Daniel Perry, who killed in broad daylight in a crowded subway car a black homeless person who was exhibiting a mental health episode. He choked him to death. Conservatives celebrated Daniel Penny. Did I say Perry? Sorry. Daniel Penny, and still do. This is unique for a lot of conservatives, I would say. Because normally, this is a person in a position of power. This is a person that is at the top of a reputable institution. Healthcare is important. Normally, you don't hear this kind of sentiment being expressed by conservatives, except as right-wingers try to polarize the subject and hit it from the angles that they're used to try to get their fan base to agree with them, to see this in the way that they see it. Right-wing commentators and mainstream media are failing to get people to be upset at the shooter, because I think their personal experience with healthcare is so bad that they are aware of the inconsistency with what a wealthy political commentator like Ben Shapiro is saying. This video, by the way, apparently is sitting at 21,000 dislikes, and how they personally feel. I work in a factory in a deep red state. My coworkers all voted for Trump and wear his merch. They were laughing at this incident. It's not just the left. Ben, you're a millionaire. You're on a true blue-collar conservative. You're a rich guy that tries to appeal to working-class Republicans. You don't understand what poor people go through. Why do you pick on the left? This is bipartisan. You're out of touch. Ben, this issue is like 99% versus the 1%. Your audience is more likely working-class conservatives. We get denied health insurance claims and get screwed because we aren't rich like you. Remind me when you said we don't need to retire at 65. I'm glad the comments are giving Ben a reality check. Ben Shapiro is the CEO of his own company, so it makes sense he might see a little of himself as the victim. It ain't just the left. Ben tried to do this as a shocking targeted attack, and the left celebrates. As an independent content creator on the right, obviously, his job is to get people in his audience to say killing a CEO is inappropriate. Of course. The norms, the civility. You can't kill a person in a position of power. Are you kidding me? That's not allowed, right? And I'm not even saying that you can do that, okay? I'm not saying that at all, because I am a humanist, okay? I don't believe in the death penalty. Ben Shapiro does. I don't. I don't believe in capital punishment. My solutions are, in my opinion, a lot better than whatever these guys are saying. I personally am a firm and committed believer in universal health care. If we had universal health care, this kind of resentment would not exist. It's the same principle behind Me Too. Me Too movement was a movement that absolutely swung in the direction of justice, vigilante justice, because the institutions were not doing anything about mass harassment, sexual assaults in the workplace, right? And then as vigilante movements, as is the case with most vigilante movements, it went far. It went too far, and then the pendulum swung back, right? And it's really interesting that Ben, Tim Pool, Matt Walsh have all tried. Oh, it's at 8.5K dislikes. Sorry, it's not at 19K. Thank you, Little Bear, for showing me how many dislikes it is. The dislikes are still outweighing the likes on the video. But they are trying to spin it, okay? They are trying to spin it as hard as they can. They're trying to spin it as aggressively as they can. Matt Walsh's initial reaction was, oh, it's because they killed a white guy. And the left is celebrating it because it's a white guy. Yeah, here it is. The left is outright praising the first-degree murder of a health insurance CEO because he's a white male. If he was the CEO of the same company was a black woman, you would not be seeing any of the gloating and celebration. I hope everyone understands this basic point. There are two videos, dog. One has 20K dislikes. The other one, oh, wait, it does. The evil revolutionary left cheers murder. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He made two videos on this. It is at 21,000 dislikes. Wow. So Matt Walsh immediately went in, and I noticed this because that other federal agent, what's his face? The Navy intelligence, former Navy intelligence guy, Jack Posobiec, was like, this guy's not a real hitman, right? Like, they were trying to find a way to still criticize the person that shot the CEO, but like do it in a way where they could rally their own base. But their own base was like, no, we like this. We like this a lot. And all this does is make them look like they are out of touch charlatans that are directly trying to make divisive commentary on this matter. The left is outright praising the first degree murder of a health insurance CEO because he's a white male. If he was the CEO of the same company, but it was a black woman, blah, blah, blah. Most people were like, no, yeah, this is the replies to Brian, the CEO, okay? Brian Thompson, the CEO's LinkedIn post from a year ago. Brian Thompson, this seems like a laudable mission, but United Healthcare Group is failing my mother by not providing her basic care. to get better and get back to her life. I think a lot of people realize that there is no right-wing identitarian politics in a moment like this, because it's such a clear-cut example of, right and wrong. I saw this. Yeah, I just realized that your entire business model requires us normal folk hate each other. I would say that healthcare is one of the most important issues in this country, one of the most glaringly obvious historic wrongs in this country that continues. And that is precisely the reason why even on LinkedIn, you got other CEOs being like, yo, you suck, dog. You are doing a great job cutting your costs. Not having a single anesthesiologist and network in the entire state of Montana is a great policy to save you money. I'm telling you, man, healthcare and home ownership, like healthcare and housing prices, are the two key things that everyone gets over by, every single person. If a party was tackling that, they would be running the table permanently. They would have a permanent democratic popular regime. They would have a popular broad mandate. Education is very bad too, but I'm saying, like, in terms of like the top priorities, I think it's healthcare and housing. People are very, very, very angry, understandably, about the situation that is unfolding, about their own material realities. And these guys have gone on for far too long, very clearly cutting across that class consciousness by saying, don't worry about that. Don't worry about healthcare. Look at how these libtards, they hate white men. They hate you because you're white. All they do is they care about trans people. That's all they care about. And I think this kind of divisive narrative does not work in a situation where, like I said, it's a glaringly obvious problem with very real resentment. This proves you right on the take of the Walton family being persecuted and the egg prices going down. Yeah. Remember on Pod Save America, I said, if Kamala Harris came out and said, I am going to arrest the Walton family, and that is how we're going to claw back these egg prices, Americans would be 100% on board. Okay? She doesn't need to go that far. But you have to understand, like people don't care what the solutions are as long as there is a solution to those problems. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's clear. If someone was like, I'm going to arrest every healthcare CEO and we are going to institute some kind of like normal, good healthcare that every other country has, every other comparable nation state has on this planet, people will be like, yeah, no, that's it. That's my shit. I love that. That's assuming the median American knows who the Waltons are. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're misunderstanding the point. I'm using the most extreme example I can use, something that like the Democratic Party is never going to do, but I'm using the most extreme example, something that normally Americans should be fearful of because of a century of Red Scare propaganda. And even then, I think they would still be on board. They would be like, okay, no, I see it. This is not the like solution. Okay. I'm not saying that the solution is like going out and instituting vigilante justice against like random CEOs. The solution is legislative change. But I think that there can't be this much pressure without a pressure valve. Okay? You cannot have this much pressure building up, this much resentment building up, and consistently move people's attention away from the real vectors of pressure, real vectors of resentment. And this is a moment where very clearly someone did take vigilante action, right? And people were like, yeah, I don't care about this. This person has like killed my grandmother. I don't give a shit. You cannot hurt tens of millions of Americans in this systematized form of violence, in the words of Engels, this social murder, okay? And then expect people to also lap it up and care about the institutions. This is the same thing that I talked about with Donald Trump winning the election now twice. In 2016, he won because people were like, I'm angry at these institutions, the establishment. I don't give a shit. Let's blow it up. And that's precisely what happened again. This time around, it happened once more, and people just don't understand it. Donald Trump's like, yeah, we're going to fix your housing prices. How am I going to do that? By deporting 20 million immigrants. I'm going to fix the egg prices. How? Deporting 20 million immigrants. It doesn't even have to make sense for a lot of people. They're just like, okay, I trust this guy. He sees the anger that I feel, and that's his solution, I'm willing to, take a bet. Every post on r/conservative is basically saying open corruption from leadership, unaffordable healthcare, wars and revolutions breaking out worldwide. We really might be hitting a critical point in history. Double the industry standard on claims denials. Eat the rich will start somewhere. Frankly, it's inevitable. You got Republicans talking about eat the rich, man. That's crazy. The entire Republican ideology revolves around defending the rich, and it's failing. It's because all of the divisive ways in which people have been sedated into,
folks, the reason we can
not recognizing who the real villains in society are failing as well. Where is it? Where is the other video that people were responding to? Did he delete it? Scroll up, second row. Oh, the evil revolutionary left cheers
folks, we have
murder.
updates in the search.
Yeah. L-Take, I'm glad the comment section noticed. The CEO is actually a criminal. I just realized your entire business model requires us normal folk to hate each other. I don't know why you're trying to keep pushing this as a left issue. It's across the board. Yep, that's it. It's not working. It's not working for the right, the populist right, the so-called populism of the right. It's only the populist right-wing sentiment is only effective if there's no motion on the left. This is why I say if the Democratic Party actually got their straight and were truly fighting to fix some of these problems that Americans are facing, the Republicans would not be able to effectively cut out this like anti-trans shit, this anti-immigrant shit. It just wouldn't work because everyone would be like, okay, well, this guy wants to make my healthcare free. I don't give a I don't care about trans people. I don't care. Yeah, they're weird. They're gross. Who gives a shit? Is the normal attitude that most right-wingers have. They're like, yeah, okay. Is that gonna put more money in my pocket? Is that gonna put food on my table if every single trans person is no longer allowed to compete? All 40 trans people in the entire state, in the entire United States of America won't be able to compete in high school swim meets? Is that gonna give you more money? Is that going to make healthcare affordable? No. Make no mistake. I think the average American still has a lot of resentment and, would still talk about like mass deportations if their Uber Eats order was cold. Okay. Make no mistake. That still very much exists. But this is something that they feel. This is something that they experience. And it's very obvious that it's such a significant problem for them that, they're looking at a situation like broad daylight assassination and going, nah, that's actually sick. And we don't even know the actual shooter's motives yet. Like, we don't know for sure what the motives are. I've had 2 doctors retire in the past 4 to 5 years because they claimed they were tired of spending the majority of their day arguing with insurance companies about how to care for their patients. One said apparently their accounting degree trumps my medical degree. Everything is denied by default. And hope to frustrate the doctor impatient enough to concede. I don't condone the murder either, but I'm not surprised it happened. I'm dealing with insurance right now and have multiple doctors say, I need surgery, and the insurance company still refuses to approve it. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. Again, sorry to spam, but I wanted to add my parents are conservative Christian and they're loving this. My mom has cancer. She definitely feels vindicated. She literally just texted me to say she didn't know if she and my dad would be watching the Daily Wire anymore, lol. That's what I'm saying. This is a glaringly obvious pressure point for a lot of Americans. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care that like this is a system breaking act. Does that make sense? Do you guys understand? I wouldn't say this is like a real class awakening, but at least on this issue, people recognize the harm. They see it. They experience it. They recognize it. They know who's responsible for it. My company, Mayo Clinic, has a literal division of people whose job it is to argue with insurance companies on behalf of doctors because they don't have enough time to argue every single diagnosis or procedure that their patients need. Yeah, all that stuff makes healthcare more expensive in this country, for the record. All of that stuff makes healthcare more expensive, more costly, and shittier overall. NYPD sources say the artificial intelligence is going to play a big role in nailing the idea of the gunman who killed the United Health CEO. His mask, to point out, didn't totally cover his face. Bone structure was showing through the rest of it. And AI will come up with a pretty clear match, they believe. I think it's very funny that they are using the bunk-ass artificial intelligence. The irony of using AI to capture an assassin who killed the CEO that instituted an AI model with a 90% error rate is fabulous. This is low-key, yet another instance of the enshittification of everything. The profit motives creating worse outcomes overall. And it's a institution that's tasked with like finding this criminal, right? And they're going to fail. It's a failure. The AI system is fundamentally broken. It's only good and working as intended when you are using it to deny insurance claims. It's supposed to be bad. It works as intended with the Lavender program, Israel's targeting program. It works as intended when you're just using that as a plausible deniability to be like, oh, well, our Lavender AI targeting system found all of these people to be Hamas terrorists. AI doesn't work when you are actually trying to hyper target and find a specific individual. It's supposed to be a mechanism that you use to say, oh yeah, to use when you don't actually have to, solve the issue.
Meanwhile, the shooting has reignited national anger with the healthcare industry. Investigators say the words deny, delay, and depose were etched into bullet casings found at the scene, words often used to criticize insurance companies' tactics in rejecting patients' claims.
We're fighting with the insurance company over her dialysis to keep her alive.
In the days after the shooting, social media lit.
Yeah, the story very quickly turned into like the broad public reception and the anger that they feel towards this guy who just got murked and the entire insurance industry. You can't over tens of millions of Americans at the behest of the profit motive for years and years, and then expect people not to respond like this in a moment where there is some semblance of vigilante justice at play. Okay? This requires systematic overhaul. Okay? This requires legitimate change. And these guys, these institutions, mainstream media, right-wing Republicans, people who maintain the aesthetic posture of civility, people who are desperately trying to frame this as a partisan issue, those people are woefully inequipped. They're underprepared. I don't think they were expecting this groundswell of positive affirmations for a person that did a crime in broad daylight. Americans are very crime-brained. They literally will be like, "Oh, you stole a Snickers bar from Target? Like, that's unacceptable. You should get a death penalty." Like, that's the attitude that people normally have. So in a country like that, all of a sudden, Americans are coming out of the woodwork, regardless of political ideology, turning around and saying like, "No, this was good." That's how severe the pain is for every American person.
Up with Americans sharing their frustration with insurance providers. A survey taken last year found 12% of claims were denied, up 20% from 2020. While a 2023 survey found nearly 60% of insured adults experienced some issue with their coverage in the previous year.
What's Jenks' attitude on this? Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about Jenks, but Anna Kasparian also hit the classic, like, I can't believe the left is celebrating murder, and then changed her tune real quick. Originally she was like, originally the first day when it came out, I remember reading a tweet from her. When it first happened, I remember reading a tweet from her that was like something that even Michael from Pennsylvania was yelling about, I think, right? Am I crazy? She has basically decided, she said this. I mean, this is pretty much the same reaction leftists like him have when a working class woman is stabbed to death at a bus stop by a repeat offender. They want roaming in the streets. But she very quickly changed it. Or are we just going to devolve into vigilante justice? Plus, it's useless, counterproductive. That brings no change to healthcare. But then today I saw her. Yeah, first she said, this is how the left is on random working class women being stabbed, which is crazy. I don't think anybody has that kind of attitude, this indifference. Okay. Then she said, responding to someone that said, are you okay with for-profit healthcare? She said, I still have the same views on healthcare. I want single parent. You can hate and condemn our healthcare system or United Healthcare in particular, and also condemn murder. Are we just going to devolve into vigilante justice? If that's what people want, I'd be careful. I thought that was the kind of culture we didn't like. I guess it's okay when you find it righteous, but what comes with severe societal consequences that are worth considering? Plus, it's just useless, counterproductive, really. This brings about no change to healthcare. I get it if you don't feel empathy, but maybe don't overtly be a dick about it. Political positions never win when they're attached to unlikable people. And right now, the left is unlikable. And then she responded to Ben, live your life in such a way that you aren't a socialist leech on the ass of society, reveling in the murder of people who work for companies you don't like. Her attitude is different now. It's not just socialists that feel this way. It's felt across the political spectrum, which might mean you're misidentifying who the leeches are. So it seems like she's changing her rhetoric a little bit.